Hey guys, let's get more news from Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Herro says he's sacrificing for the Miami Heat. Here's what he means. Down 39-25 and feeling the game slip away at the start of the second quarter, Erik Spoelstra called a timeout. Spoelstra sat, looking at his players' faces, and waited about 15 seconds before saying a word. The Heat had lost 6 straight games and were at risk of losing a 7th. The tension was palpable. The Heat started the second quarter by giving up 6 straight points to the Phoenix Suns and missing their first 3 shots. The last one, a contested mid-range jumper that Herro dribbled into, came before the timeout. That and an inevitable Kevin Durant bucket prompted Spoelstra's stoppage. After some intentional silence, Spoelstra started giving directions. He pointed, pounded his clipboard, and handed the huddle off to team captain Bam Adebayo. It's unfair to blame Miami's deficit at the time and, ultimately, its 118-105 loss on Herro. Little has worked the Heat's way during this losing streak. Adebayo was 3 for 9 Monday, the bench was outscored 48-30 and the Suns shot 48.9% as a team. But something was said during that timeout that reminded Herro of what he has to be for this Heat team at this moment. Shortly after the timeout, Herro had another chance. He came up from the baseline and peeled off an Adebayo screen. Jimmy Butler tossed him the ball and Bradley Beal flew by on a closeout. Rather than dribble north-south into another long 2, Herro took one rhythm bounce and fired a 3-pointer that cut the deficit to 8. Herro didn't take another long 2 for the rest of the game. He had taken 3 straight before Spoelstra's animated timeout but none after. Everything from that point was a 3-pointer, 10 attempts, or in the paint, 3. The Heat made runs, although they never quite threatened a comeback, but there are lessons to take away from the loss. Terry Rozier finally snapped out of his post-trade shooting slump. Butler scored at least 20 points in consecutive games for the first time since mid-December, and Herro embraced the off-the-ball game that could help finally unlock Miami's offense. "Trying to sacrifice how I play to fit the team," Herro said. "I'm gonna try to be more of a catch-and-shoot guy to fit the offense." It's an admission of something the Heat have needed for a long time, and even more so after the acquisition of Rozier. Herro is one of the league's elite shooters off the catch. His 42.1% clip on off-the-catch threes is tops on the Heat and consistent for his career. Over the years, he has rivaled elite shooters like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, although on a lesser volume. The Heat want Herro to turn the knobs more in that direction and away from the over-dribbling and long 2s that can kill their offense. Nobody is trying to turn Herro into Jason Capono. His pick-and-roll ball handling and ability to get a bucket at the end of the shot clock are still important to this team, but taking the easy threes as they come will help this offense. With Herro, Butler, and Adebayo, the Heat have 3 players who prefer to push paper in the mid-range. The difference between Herro and the other 2 Heat stars is that Herro is the only one who is a threat from deep. Adebayo has yet to develop that range, and Butler only takes threes when he's wide open and feels like it. As a result, the Heat lead the league in shots taken from the inefficient mid-range while ranking near the bottom in rim attacks and in the middle of the league in 3-point attempts, per cleaning the glass. That formula does not equal efficient offense and is the biggest reason why the Heat rank 22nd in offensive rating. When Herro says he needs to fit the team, this is what he means. If Butler and Adebayo are going to gobble up the available mid-range looks, then Herro has to sustain on 3-pointers and quick decisions. Playing off of Butler and Adebayo will help space the floor and optimize Miami's shot chart. Miami Heat's Jimmy Butler says team not giving enough effort during losing streak. The Miami Heat has always been a franchise that prides itself on effort. A lack of that lately is what Heat forward Jimmy Butler blames for the recent 7-game losing streak. The latest loss came Monday against the Phoenix Suns. "I just think not enough effort," Butler said. "Getting beat off the dribble, consistently giving up offensive rebounds, not getting back. I think those are majority of the time effort plays. We just got to be able to do that a little better." Butler has done his part the last 2 games, averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in losses to the Suns and New York Knicks. Butler also refused to pin the struggles on lineup changes. The Heat acquired guard Terry Rozier last week and have used multiple starting fives throughout the season. "It don't matter what lineup you put out there," Butler said. "If we're not guarding, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. I feel like the same outcome is going to happen. No matter what 5 is out there, we still got a job to do. We still got to play the right way on both sides of the floor. No amount of trades, no amount of lineup changes is going to change that." Shandell Richardson covers the Miami Heat for Inside the Heat, a Fan Nation channel, for Sports Illustrated. He has covered the NBA since 2010. 2024 NBA trade deadline, the player most likely to be dealt on all 30 teams. With fewer than 10 days remaining before the trade deadline, let's have a realistic view for every team based on what executives, agents, and players are talking about. One important ground rule: this is not fantasy basketball. Hypotheticals are a part of putting together every trade in NBA history and are taking place every hour of the day between teams until February 8 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. But that's different from simply making up a scenario that it's not outside the realm of possibility, even if it sounds fun. With that in mind, here's a team-by-team look at what could happen. Trading for Murray in 2022 hasn't worked out as hoped for Atlanta. The Hawks potentially have an expensive roster, are out several first-rounders going forward and, worst of all, are underachieving. Murray has been available for a month, but it shouldn't be assumed Atlanta will trade him. If it gets an acceptable offer, it most likely will be for draft compensation. The Heat have made their move by acquiring Rozier and sending Lowry to Charlotte. If they do anything else, it might be small and on the margins to reduce their current $13 million tax bill. Miami does have an open roster spot if it enters the buyout market. It is questionable whether the Hornets will want to keep Bridges when he's an unrestricted free agent this summer. If they move on now, they can get an asset. Contenders are interested because Bridges' $8 million salary has value compared to his production. However, Bridges has the power to veto any trade because he'd lose his bird rights, and it would limit his ability to sign a bigger deal in the summer. He would likely prefer a team that has cap space to pay him, such as the 76ers, but otherwise would likely want to be assured a significant role. Lowry has a $30 million expiring deal and just joined Charlotte in the deal that sent Terry Rozier to Miami. He's a buyout candidate if he isn't moved again. And you fan, what do you think of the Lowry situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.